Welcome to That's My Therapy. I'm Alicia Belzer, a master's student in adventure-based counseling and experiential education.
I'm Amanda Reedy, a clinical social worker working as a mental health therapist. Yes, our voices are the same. Try your best.
We are sisters and mental health professionals who spend our days chatting about what helps us grow, heal, and connect. We believe therapy is a great tool for healing. However, we hope to demystify what healing can look like. As in our experience, humans are intuitive, creative, and determined when it comes to caring for themselves.
Each episode, we will get curious about therapeutic things that aren't traditional talk therapy. We will break down why those things might be helpful from a clinical lens. Let's get it.
Hello.
Welcome back.
We're very excited to have you here today. We have some well-anticipated episodes, this being part one of our two-part TREEFORT experience. So, how was TREEFORT for you, Amanda?
It was really good. There were some tricky moments. There were some really fun moments. But honestly, the best part of TREEFORT was these interviews that we did. And doing this with you and recognizing that this was a worthwhile experience, even though I was a little bit reluctant to take the pod out of my living room.
Yeah, I think I almost wish we had done an interview before we ever did TREEFORT, because that very first day where we were just anticipating the interview that night, I don't think my heart rate dropped under 140. Yeah. All day. I had to change my clothes to be looser and more comfortable.
Yeah, her pants because of the diarrhea.
Yeah.
Allie's gut likes to carry all of her problems.
Yeah, my digestive system feels most of my emotions for me.
Yeah.
How kind.
Really delegated to only this one.
Only the gut.
Yeah.
But no, after that first interview, it was so fun and rewarding to hear about these artist experiences.
Yeah. Turns out they're just people. And I knew that, and you knew that, but we forgot. And then we met them, and then we realized, oh, you're just people.
You're people.
And it's just two humans in a room having a conversation.
Yeah.
And, and it was lovely.
It really was. So we'll jump into it. We have talked with 4 bands over the course of this TREEFORT journey. We're going to divide them up into 2s. Today you will be hearing from Shannon Koehler, who is lead singer-songwriter of the Stone Foxes. We got to hear about Shannon's experience, so we'll start there.
The cool thing about this experience, too, it is very hard for me to consume any new content. So being exposed to all these bands, I'm like, okay, well, you have to listen to new music. And then I just fell in love with all of them. And now I'm such a fangirl for each band, but especially loved Stone Foxes. Oh my gosh.
What fun and beautiful music they produce. And Manda and I are for sure prone to our hyperfixations. And no, if you interviewed with us,
I had listened to your songs.
Yeah,
I'm in the 0.01% of now Spotify.
Your music is now integrated into my soul. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
We'll see you at every single one of your next shows.
Yeah. This is Shannon with Stone Foxes.
Did Phil tell you much about what we do, or?
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys talk to artists about therapy and their experiences with therapy and stuff like that.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, we're both mental health professionals, and
nice, great.
We want to acknowledge that therapy doesn't start or stop in a counseling office, and that people find a lot of ways to grow and heal and change
meaning out of life.
That's cool.
So our goal primarily is to kind of get with artists and ask how music fits into that process for them, and if it does. Yeah. So if you're willing to get a little vulnerable,
sure.
great. But
no problem.
how much Phil prepared. any questions for us or needs before we get started?
No, I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Also, first of all, I hadn't heard of Stone Foxes before this, and then we've been listening to a bunch, and you guys are great.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you.
It's a great vibe to it. Yeah.
Where is the band from? Where are you
San Francisco.
Okay.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that where you're from too?
I grew up east of Fresno in the mountains with my brother.
Yeah.
He and I write everything. He doesn't tour, but I tour with a bunch of great family band members, and so we just did Portland, Seattle, and Bend. So we're here today.
Oh, nice. Is this your first time in Boise?
No.
Okay.
No, we've been playing a long time.
All right. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, also, we're sisters too. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
They're like, your voices are the same.
Exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. We can just jump right into it then.
Sure.
So we want to disclaimer, the point of therapy is not necessarily always to feel better, although that often happens, but we kind of view it as a means to understand like a deeper truth of yourself, and process through past experience or otherwise integrate growth moving forward. So with all that in mind, does music facilitate any or all of those things for you?
Oh yeah, I think I like to write about darker things than I feel like I can just talk about in a normal conversation. I like to, I'm a very politically minded person, and so I like to come up with characters that might not be totally ethical. Like we have a new song on our new record called Man's Red Fire, and it kind of combines a lot of just sort of thoughts about American Civil War and how it just doesn't seem to end, and how it keeps on going. And I think, allows you to sort of dive into darker subjects. Music allows me to write about darker subjects than I would just normally talk about, because I like to think I'm a cheery person.
Right, yeah.
And I like to be that person, and it also does allow me to be Superman on stage in my own way.
Right, yeah.
For an hour and a half every day. And not everybody gets to be that.
Personality really shifts from your offstage persona to on-stage persona? Like you get to embody a different version of yourself, or kind of like honor parts of you that want to be big and loud, or...
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And but I really think that I'm the same person.
Yes, yeah.
And my wife knows, like, she sees that I'm the same person.
Yeah.
So, like, that idea of, like, someone sees you.
Yeah.
And that's what love is. That's totally what that is. She can see all facets of my life and sees how they're the same person.
Yeah.
But I think there's been so many people who I've just, worked with on other projects, and then they come see a Stone Foxes show, and they're like, who the fuck is that? And to me, they're the same person.
Right, yeah.
But I think that music does allow me to
express that side of yourself, Yep.
And it does get me to, work through a lot of emotional things too. Like most of this new record is almost all about my wife and us, falling in love, and what's that really mean? As you kind of get a feeling for what real love is, and the verb of love, and what this person really means to you, and the experiences that you have. So there's a lot of that in there too.
Yeah, so there's several things I wanted to talk about with this first answer. First being that he talks about how writing music kind of taps into this darker part of himself that he vocalized that he doesn't often show / doesn't often want to show.
Well, for me, the word that keeps coming up is permission giving. And there are certain spaces that give so much permission to feel. And writing seems to be a place where folks can access that part of themselves. especially if it sounds like, pieces of our identity are built off of certain characteristics, right? So if he's someone who's like, I'm actually a pretty cheery person, it can be difficult to show people or access the side of you that obviously feels the deep things in the world. So then it can be challenging to let other people see that, because it challenges this identity that we've created, or this persona that we like to, that's outward facing. But things like music can be, and writing can be inward facing. I'm thinking of like how this would apply for myself. Like I sort of have this identity built up that I'm the together person in so many of my relationships or friendships. Like I'm stable. So if I experience dysregulation, it's very difficult for me to show those emotions, not necessarily because I'm scared of the emotions, but it's because it challenges the persona that I have kind of hinged some of my identity on.
Yeah, and he speaks to the people who, one, maybe don't fully understand that side of him. So when they see him performing or see the music he's written, in his words, who the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And then he talks about how he sees himself as like, those are integrated parts into him.
Exactly, yeah.
And his clear, and as this interview goes on, it becomes so clear that Shannon Koehler and his wife have the most beautifully integrated and respectful and loving relationship. And it's amazing to hear him talk about the people that see him fully.
Yeah.
And I think his music is an invitation for anyone who listens to see him fully. But I imagine, there's certain people that see it already as part of him.
Yeah. Maybe it's a call to hold on to the people who see your full humanity and in the ways that we integrate them.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you for sharing. That was a very well thought out and great answer.
Good, I wrote it all out before.
So kind of with that in mind, if you're willing, do you remember any like specific moments in the past where creating or performing music has helped you like move through something or like brought you new perspective?
Yeah, but let me get a specific one for you. We have a song called Help Me Now that is about when I woke up. So I've done a lot of therapy around, that started with panic around heart problems. Because I have a lot of heart problems. Then I'm fine right now. And but I was having a surgery 2 years ago, and I woke up from my surgery, and they cut my sternum to put in new pacemaker leads and stuff. And they didn't give me any pain medication. And I just woke up in this like outrageous pain, and I'm sure that lots of people have experienced worse pain. I'm burns, childbirth, I have no idea, but it was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. And I remember my mom was there, and because you could only have 2 people during the pandemic in the hospital. So mom was there, my wife was there, and so I was able to like find a way to talk about that experience. And I think also, as like a white man, I'm also very aware that white guys complaining is there's not much to complain about. We're very privileged people, but also, how do I talk about something that I went through? It was like this physical pain. So I think the song was a way for me to do that. It's just about what it's like to be fucking stuck. And like screaming and that kind of stuff.
And the more the whole therapy world now is looking more and more of how our emotions and experiences live in our bodies, way more than these are just cognitive experiences or memories. So when we have like physical experiences like that. We need like a physical outlet or a musical outlet or a movement outlet that actually helps you give language to that, to something that doesn't have language. Like your physical pain doesn't have the same language of I'm in a hospital bed and I'm hurting and I don't have pain medications. It's like a completely somatic
You can't really talk your way out of that.
Yeah, you have to actually like feel all the way through that.
Which is my problem as someone who has like severe panic. Yeah. You know, like like childhood trauma stuff. Yeah. And not just, you know, like it's hard to even like say that because I feel like I had a great childhood. Yeah. But what you're talking about where you feel it's a body thing.
Right. Like we can cognitively be very aware that, oh, I am not this little kid anymore. This is where I am now. But like your body remembers what it like to be that little kid. And like it takes more than just thinking about this is where I am now versus then. Like we actually have to do things that move through it. And like it changes where it lives in our nervous system. And I think that's what music does for so many people. Yeah.
That's cool.
And there's research to back that up. So,
and we did that research.
Not me, someone else does. But,
you should have read about it.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, there's a few things that came up in this answer that I want to call attention to. One is how Shannon speaks so humbly about his experiences that have been traumatic for him and how he has had to kind of search for a place where it's safe to share how those experiences have like affected and molded him. And I had the thought of the way people can share those experiences in ways that are harmful, that are trauma dumping on other people, or sharing about your experiences in environments where people are far less privileged than you. And not only does Shannon seem so aware of the effect of sharing trauma can have on other people, but that he has found a way to, one, honor those experiences for himself and share them in accessible ways so other people can hear them fully and maybe resonate and grow from them as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking too, a little bit of it made me sad when we talk about like, oh, because I'm white, cis, male, straight, whatever, you know, identities you may hold, there's an idea of therefore I'm not allowed to complain about things, which sometimes translates to I'm not allowed to like share my feelings or struggles or problems with others. And I think so many men already get in this space, and it's like, okay, maybe don't complain like that it's so hard to like get a job interview or about like what a burden your generational wealth is, right? Like, okay, boys, let's maybe not do that, but it's like, oh, please talk and share about your struggles, your feelings. It's so easy. I see this all the time with so many folks. I see it with within myself too. This comparative suffering means that we're thinking that empathy is a scarcity versus empathy is a bottomless well that can always be replenished.
It's a renewable resource. It's infinite.
Yeah. So for me, like if somebody has you know, a much harder experience than me, it's like I can recognize and have empathy for that while at the same time having empathy for the experience that I'm in. And sometimes recognizing the struggles and suffering of others can do some perspective shifting, which can be nice. It's like,
well, and I would, what you're speaking to is one, empathy for yourself does not limit your ability to empathize or act on the behalf of others. And I would venture to say that it makes you far more capable of recognizing suffering in others when you are compassionate to towards your own suffering, and that pressing all of those experiences down, feeling unable to speak to them or move through them, that actually will hold you in a place where you cannot focus your attention and empathy on others because this experience is too permanent in your body.
So you have a set coming up tonight, late in the evening, at least for us.
Oh,
and,
for us too. Oh man.
And how are you feeling before going on stage typically, or how are you feeling now with that coming up?
It's why you go on tour.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't go on tour to be in a hotel or to drive all day.
Right.
You go because there might be a line out the door, and there might be a bunch of people who are stoked to see the show.
Yeah.
And you got a great band of people, and you get the little buzz going on adrenaline. And it's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best when you feel united with the crowd and you give them some sort of sense of community.
Yeah.
Even though it's for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And hopefully they go home, and bring that into their next day or do something positive with it.
An author I love wrote, "I love live music because it's the only opportunity for hundreds of people to all fall in love with each other at the same time."
That's so true. That's so true.
Even if it's just for an hour.
Yeah.
My wife, there's nothing she loves more than like everybody singing around her.
That's so gives you chills. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, goosebumps.
Yeah.
You kind of answered my next question was like, how does that shift to during the performance? You mentioned like sense of unity.
Yeah.
And then, unless you have anything to add, I would say like, what's the come down like that? Like, how do you integrate that experience into your next day
when you're on the road or driving or back in the
back in a shitty hotel somewhere?
That's funny. How do I integrate that into the next day? Well, it's like it's okay. So you go on all these, you go to all these places, and you think about it. You think about, I'm going to Boise today. Okay, so what memories do I have there? And like you'll always remember a great show. Like you'll always have that with you. That it was a super fun show. Remember that happened. Or even if it was a weird fucking show.
Right,
Those are the ones you really remember. And those memories are just always with you. So I guess moving into your next day, if you kicked some ass that night, you feel good the next day.
Yeah.
And then, if you don't, you try to be as consistent as you can. I think that's what pros are supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's really the memories, which is so cool because then you see those same people again and they're like, I remember I saw you 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And this and this. It's like, and we actually, you remember faces.
Oh, wow.
That's cool. And it's like, So, that's the life application.
One thought that came to mind was when he was talking about how when there's this energy in the crowd where there's like a sense of community, that you came there actually with a purpose to connect with each other and the band and the music that they're playing. That he mentioned this himself, that like, and hopefully they just carry that with them when they leave, just whatever they felt during that experience. And what came to mind for me was the stories that you have told me at your time in working in hospice.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. When you would sing to patients and with dementia, and the idea is that like they'll have no maybe cognitive recognition of what's happening, or will forget it quickly when it's over, but that the somatic response research shows us that it's lingering, or it lingers for quite a long time.
Yeah, so sometimes it can be hard for family members who have seen their loved one really decline cognitively, have no memory of who they are, and it's really easy to get in the headspace of like, does it even matter that I visit? And now we know so much more about how Well, I guess it's that like Maya Angelou quote of like, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I think I just realized that is because feeling lives in the body. That doesn't live in a cognitive space. That's a felt sense of like my nervous system shifted to a different place because of this person's, and it can exist just from a visit, a kind presence, like somebody's face smiling at me, compassionate touch, music, prayer. The impact of that stays in the body for far longer than, you know, that person could forget 12 seconds later that they had somebody visit them. But their body remembers, and there's increased relaxation. It helps with sleep. It feels, you know, helps with behaviors or anything. So yeah, it's exactly so true. So anyway, the gift of performance stays with people much longer.
Is there anything music has taught you about yourself that maybe you wouldn't have known otherwise?
You wouldn't have known otherwise. I think it does teach, I think musicians, especially songwriters, people who write their own songs and stuff, I think you learn kind of early to serve the song. Whatever the song wants to do, don't get in the way of it. You know, as the drummer, you don't need to be super fancy to give the solid groove that people need. Or it is a lesson in, I want to say a lesson in service, but kind of in that, like, let go of your ego, son. It's also definitely an ego trip. I totally get that. But at the same time, it's not. So I think that part, that's the learning part. I think it's learning how to best serve the song to enable the higher elevated experience.
Like there's a magic to it if you just don't get in the way.
Well said.
You're just the best messenger there can be.
Yeah. Stop fucking around and get out of. Stop doing shit during the lyrics. Like,
That's a really good point.
Just quickly, I feel like the way he described this was so perfect, in that when anyone does something that allows them to enter a space of flow, and it is a mental state that's completely free of ego, and we've talked a lot today about how music and the creation of it lives in the body, and flow is about that space of kind of getting out of the way of what your body knows. And anyone who's an expert at anything will kind of say something similar of, I'm just getting out of its way.
Yeah, I hear that so much. Actually, I think it's Liz Gilbert who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, but she also was talking about her book, City of Girls. She talked on a podcast about, she would just talk to the book, and it's like, oh, well, this is what the character that wanted, this is what wanted to happen with this character. It wasn't me. I didn't say this is what happened. And it was just like, I just had to get out of the way. You know, sometimes it feels like that, and then sometimes it feels like you're yelling at all your characters to be like, I don't know what's going to happen, but you're all getting in the car, and we're getting 3 chapters in by the end of the day, you know?
Right, and I'm sure that, like, it's a balancing act of both in creating and performing music. But I think he spoke to that experience so well.
Nearing the end here, you obviously don't do this work alone. You said you mentioned writing with your brother, performing with a family band. Can you share what your experience has been like as part of a band, a community, / like just a larger body of work?
Oh man, they're my best friends in the world. It's family. It's something I crave to do. Something I hope I never have to completely stop doing. It's kind of you're doing doing that kind of stuff with people. It's like it's beyond. It's a marriage in a way.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah.
you're married to all these. You know these people better than their partners do.
Probably.
In some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very intense experience. It's like going to summer camp
Yeah.
for years. You know?
Intimate.
Oh man, yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say.
It's just such another great reminder that we do not need to be doing our work alone. That so much happens when we can be in a space where we're held by a community. I feel that with you, Ali. Like I never would have done anything like this, and I definitely never would have done interviews or anything that required this much vulnerability without knowing that, like, hey, at the end of the day, if we fail, it's just you and me, and we get to hang out, and like you're holding our success and also our failure, but we're doing it together, and that just feels like the most rewarding part.
Thank you for saying that. I feel that too, and that the way he talks about the community that he writes songs with as like knowing him or knowing each other more intimately than their partners, sometimes it does speak to when you do something with a community that is outside of the mind, if you will. Like if you're communing with someone with your body by like playing a sport with them,
Yeah.
or dancing with them, or like sex, intimacy, these things that like are the way we commune with the body, and like creating music is so similar to that in the way of the give and take, and like the entering this knowing space with other people.
Shannon, thanks so much for talking
Oh,
with
yeah.
us. If you're open to it, if you would like to share a clip of or a song that you feel like is particularly meaningful to you, kind of representative of what we talked about today, we'd love to share it and promote it on the pod.
Yeah, play "Help Me Now." It's on our new record.
Okay. All right. Well,
Cool.
I promise if we can make it till 11:50, we'll be
You
there.
better be there. Come on. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Enjoy your night.
Nice to meet you too.
Without further ado, here is "Help Me Now" by the Stone Foxes. Now by the Stone Foxes. I'll link the lyrics in an Instagram post about this episode. What like a powerful representation of that experience. And thank you so much to Shannon Koehler for meeting with us and being such a champion, meeting late at night before his set outside of a noisy bar, to be very vulnerable with us. We couldn't be more grateful for his perspective. The next day, we interviewed a local Boise band named Strange Lily. We talked with Jacob and Chloe about, how they create music as a form of therapy.
Thanks for agreeing to be a little bit vulnerable, like right in the middle of your day.
I love that, absolutely. I'm always open to being vulnerable, and I think it helps others be vulnerable. And so, I like to spread that.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. That's kind of our idea behind it as
Yeah.
well. So, as we were kind of saying, the point of therapy is not necessarily to feel better, although that often is the result, right? But it is a means to understand a deeper truth about ourselves, process past experiences, or otherwise like integrate growth moving forward. So with all of that in mind, do you think music facilitates those things for you guys?
For songwriting, performing,
Any
does that
aspect of it
for you?
like emotional growth as a person and who you are. Oh, absolutely. I think with each song I've written, it's like I'm in a different stage of life, and I'm like feeling that different emotion, because like after a breakup I was very into like Hole, and then getting into the punk scene a little bit more, and those kinds of songs. But then as I reflect more, I'm kind of, I just listen to so much stuff, but I feel like it's changed as I've grown. As I've gotten older, there's new things I want to try and experience, and I definitely put my emotions into every song usually, so because it feels authentic. So each experience I'm like, okay, I need to write about this, or kind of process this breakup or this experience that I've had. So
And I'm hearing that like when you look back on past songs, do you see almost this like chronological timeline of where you were at those moments in your life?
Yeah, actually, a little bit. Like kind of the anger I felt, I can hear that in some of the like older punk songs, but the new stuff, it's more, I think my new stuff's more reflective and in that kind of way. And I wanted to speak from the point of view of depression recently, and one of my songs that I came out with, it's called Leave the Door Open. Summer really brings out of me when it's so hot, and it's like I'm just done with summer. I've always kind of gotten more depressed sometimes, so I remember writing it then, and I would leave the door open a lot to let my cat in and out, and I just I wrote it that day, and then I kind of edited it later, but that was when I was really feeling depressed, and it's like it really came through in the song, and I wanted to kind of so it's telling you that who would you be without this depression? That feeling where you're like, you feel like you identify with it. I've always kind of had it on and off where I'm like, oh, I identify with this depression, and it's like, without it, who are you? So
We talk so much about kind of personifying emotions, and how if we can shift from like depression being who I am versus depression being a part of me, and then using music to actually give that like part of you a voice, so then you can move through it, understand it differently, understand where that depression comes from, and I think that's a really powerful way to actually like personify this part of you without having it like completely engulf you.
You get to be that vulnerable and like really open about it in the song, and it's just so when I hear it, I'm like, that's it. And the producer I came to, he like really made sure that he captured it the way I wanted it to, because he's like, let's use minor tones to make sure it makes, I was like, I want it to feel like depression, so that if you listen to like the swells in the song, you kind of hear like it's just very
what an amazing way to
captured.
like validate that part of yourself. It's like, no, I want you to be fully seen as like, we're gonna use minor tones, I'm gonna use everything to show the details of your emotion.
I came in like, this has to feel like that, that,
I feel like that's not validation we often give our emotions. So that's awesome.
So it was so therapeutic. It was just so nice to get that out.
How about for you, Jacob?
I feel like I have a little bit of a different perspective. Just for me, the writing is not really the cathartic piece. It's the actually the playing, singing, at in headphones, or as as loud as my roommates will let me. That being said, I do like a lot of the time when I am just playing, I'll find like little bits or pieces or like chords I did a solo record, and I feel like my process has changed so much since then. But when I started writing it, I was going through a breakup, and it was like I was having trouble sleeping, and I lost a bunch of weight, and my mom was like calling me every day, like, "Are you still doing okay?" And I feel like at that time when I was writing, there was a lot of like, I wasn't thinking about what I was saying. I was just kind of like shutting my conscious mind off and like just speaking from somewhere within. And now I look at the words and I'm like, wow, this is really sad. I was really going through it. Where it like looking back, it almost feels like fiction, where it's like I don't remember like I don't know, maybe that's just how memory works, and you know I'm like retroactively kind of glorifying it that time, but like
or maybe it's a sign that you've moved through it, so when you look back on the song it feels differently. You're like, wow, I'm not in that place. And I think being able to fully express everything that was happening in that time and then like get it out of your body, so then when you look at it at a different time it feels different to your nervous system.
I feel okay now. I also want to I want to mention it. There's a practice in couples counseling where the therapist when one person of the couple speaks an emotion, the therapist repeats it back to them but hyperbolizes it and uses these really dramatic metaphors and use like really maybe like even uses like name calling and like so they like make this emotion bigger and realer. And I think it serves two purposes. One, to like make that emotion really seen, of just like, if you just minimized what you were feeling, I'm going to change that for you. And then two, also call upon like, that's very dramatic. So it's like a check-in with you of like, if you're really feeling that, you can shift your perspective to maybe a less dramatic one.
But only after it's fully honored.
Fully seen.
And I have another story.
Please.
Of writing. And it's funny that it's happening now. So last TREEFORT, I was in like a kind of situationship thing that I got called and dumped like during TREEFORT. I wasn't playing. I was just going to shows and stuff. But my roommate at the time was working nights, so I went home and it was like 3 a.m. and I was just like laying in bed like I need to do something. Like I read somewhere like if you can keep your mind busy for a little bit, that'll make you tired again. So I was like, I'm gonna go do something. And then so I ended up sitting in my kitchen. I was just playing guitar. I had like a riff, and after a few minutes, I was like, okay, this is going somewhere. This could turn into something. And a lot of the time, I'll hit voice memo, because if I'm thinking about thinking about what I'm trying to make art, then it usually doesn't come. But I actually set up a video and I just hit record, and the next like 4 minutes was like I showed some friends and they were like, this is really sad. Like it's
that's crazy. The only time I've written in like one sitting is that emotion is like there already, and then I just like hit my voice memo like, and then I'm like, this is a song already, like but then you go back and maybe you can tweak stuff, but that's
the body knows
we should do
initially.
it. Seriously, it's like I need to create, like if I'm feeling like that sadness or that build up, I'm like I need to just sit down and write today, you know. I know that's when it's time.
Like 4 minutes later it was like all right, there's a song. I've tweaked some things about it, but showing it to my friends, they're like, this is the best thing you've ever written. Wow. This is amazing.
Wow.
And it's funny because I had just finished recording a solo record, so now I'm like, well, I've been sitting on this for...
They're like, this is way better. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works, because, like, I'm not worried about if I get broken up with, something happens, I'll have that music.
I'll have a great song out of it.
Always, I'll have great music, and I'll always have that, you know, so it's like to come back to.
Oh, thanks for sharing that with us. I think you both kind of answered this next question, which was, do you remember any specific moments where music has, if you can think of anything else or want to add, great. If not, we could just move right on.
When I was writing the solo record, going through the first breakup that I talked about, I was still in college and I don't think it was I was awake, I was just up kind of late. I wasn't laying awake in bed, I just hadn't gone to bed yet. And but my roommate was asleep, and I was playing guitar into this little, basically just into my laptop with headphones on, so that I wouldn't disturb him. And I remember having a melody, and I literally I recorded it, and it was like 30 seconds, and it was just like a chorus part, and then I saved it, I went to bed, and then I forgot about it for like a year and a half, and then I was going back through old files and I found it, and I was like, this is so good. It's so vulnerable, but and
it's the best time to write.
I think it's one of the better.
But even when you're just writing and you're not just in that emotion, you have to sometimes channel things, because you're like, when you want to get creative, it's not that you have to get sad, like actors do when they're doing the what do you call it,
method
acting.
Yeah.
So it can be a bit like that too. But yeah, it's interesting. You have to kind of find those emotions in the moment, but you still kind of have to go from experience, I think, for it to feel authentic.
Okay, next I had kind of more specific to performing, which it sounds like this is a newer group. You said like 5-6 months?
Yeah, like 5 months total together.
Wow, okay. So I don't know if you've had many opportunities to perform together, but I guess I can ask this as individuals if you've performed in the past. Can you speak to, like, how does your body feel before performing? And then maybe speak to how that changes during, and then how do you integrate those experiences? How is coming down? What does the after look like?
Oh, yeah, it's very, before, as you get used to it, obviously the first few are you're really anxious and worried. But then what I try to do is, in the moment, I think of why I wrote the song, or I try to feel the song, and I think it comes through to the audience. Like, if you're having fun, they're having fun. So when I'm doing the song, I just, I really dive into what it means and feel it, because I think that's so important. And then that helps me forget about, being on stage. I used to be so shy, so it's incredibly insane that I have ever been on stage to play.
Wow.
So I would never have done that ages ago. I wouldn't even do solos in like jazz choir. I was always like terrified and like severe, anxiety about social. But afterwards, it's just like this like rush, and just like you're high or something almost. It's just a great feeling. I can't even. It's like you're off of a roller coaster or something. You come down, and then so it's a cathartic experience too. So I'd say.
I think for me, all the nerves live in the moments leading up to
right before you start. That's
5
usually
minutes. It's like just kind of sitting there like twiddle. Like there's so much nervous energy in that piece. And then I think I don't know if you would agree with this. I feel like I've spent so many hours playing music that when I, there is maybe a sense of that nervous energy translates a little bit to stage, where it's like there's maybe like a heightened focus or something. But again, I've spent so many hours doing it that it's just like it's almost meditative, where I'm just honed in on this thing that I've done so much that.
So that's funny. You're meditative. I'm more like, I'm gonna get weird and I'm insane, because I'm just like, I don't know. It just feels like you can be yourself and psycho, and it doesn't matter because you're on stage. Those are the most fun shows you've probably been to, is when they're doing crazy stuff, right?
When you know that the artist is so into what they're doing. It's always fun.
So I'm like, I'm gonna get weird. I was like, I don't care what people think. Like, I'm upstage, I can do whatever I want now. So whatever. It's crazy.
It's almost like I'm focused on what I'm doing so much that I'm in my own little bubble.
Like nothing else.
I would almost venture to say that you're probably experiencing similar things.
Like an out-of-body experience, or like,
you're just like, I don't care. Like the world falls away, I'm just going to be fully weird in myself. And it's like the world falls away, and it's like a meditative process.
And then, I think there's always a sense of, after I perform, where I'm like, I don't know. I'm always hungry for more. I'm like, when can I do it again?
What about performing your work? Because the writing or the composing or the playing feels so important. I hear that, but then there's something that says this is nerve-wracking. It like brings me anxiety, and there's something so important about sharing the work. So like, what about performing? It says, well, I have to keep doing this.
I have to do it anyway.
Because this could just be you in your kitchen riffing, and it could have ended.
That's true. There's so many people that don't want to put it out there. Like, I know a lot of people that make music, but they're like, I'm not gonna go to the studio and record it. And I wonder what it is actually, why I feel the need to share it. I think what I've learned, I watch podcasts about comedians, and maybe performers have the same problem, where they, being in entertainment, something about we have issues, and we were the kids in attention. It could be that. I wonder if that's what it is. I don't know what it is, but I was pushed into it like so quickly when I first started the first band, I was like, didn't expect people to like want us to do shows, and so I was like, oh, I'm not ready, this is scary. But now that I'm doing it, it's like this happened again. It went so quickly. People loved the record thing that came out, and everyone wanted to be in the band. So it's like, it is scary because you're just thrown into it. Like I feel like I was thrown into it, but at the same time I enjoy it. But I'm thinking of maybe we have issues.
I mean, I'm thinking that there's something deeper happening that says that it seems to matter that you perform it. Like, I think it's something,
so funny.
Rather than you have issues or attention seeking. This is worth being shared, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's this, I guess, stigma around like making something and putting it out there as like a selfish act or a need for attention. But when I think of all the musical artists that like I have put on my crying in cars playlist or something that was like that I use to make me feel something, if I see them as individuals in my mind, I am only feeling gratitude that like, oh, I'm so glad you voiced something.
Like Phoebe Bridgers, Mitski. I listen to that stuff. I mean, the only music I listen to is sad music, and it's like, I just, even if I'm happy, it's not that I'm like wanting to cry, but it's like I feel something and I relate so much to it. So I think maybe I'm drawn to making that music too, and because I have that type of same emotion that I'm like, I want to share that as well, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I don't see the work you're doing as self-centered in any way.
It's just that I'm like, this song's good because it's real. So I'm like, that's the one I want to put out. I don't want to put out like it just sounds cool. I seem so cool right now. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So
we're constantly just like tampering our emotions all the time. It's just like nice if there's an outlet to be like, let them be as big as they can.
I think I'm like that in general. I think, I don't know if I'd say I'm a nihilist. It's kind of dark to say it, but I've just decided that just be yourself, and like we have one life to live. Just be open with others. And so I've learned just growing up, obviously having social anxiety and those things. I just don't care anymore. I'm just like, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna be myself. This is me. Like, and I think that's maybe why I'm making music more now than I was as I've grown. I'm 28 now, so it's like maybe I'm like. Finally, I'm like, I can be myself. So
but it sounds like performing actually really helped with the social
It did. I was like, wow, I can't believe I can do this now.
That seems like that would be the opposite. It's like what would help our social anxiety would be to never leave our house, but actually it's to push yourself and push your nervous system and like when it feels activated, and then see it all the way through the end, and then like update your nervous system of like, whoa, we did that really uncomfortable thing, and we are still okay.
We didn't die.
You can probably also go to the grocery store today.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. I think it really helped me too, like truly get out there more. So
I mean, I had a conversation with my mom the other day because she was talking about something about paintings, and I said I think the point of art is to make people feel things, and I was like, that's really profound that I feel that way. Like, that's a really interesting. And when I started doing the solo record, my original thought was, I'm going to make this, I'm going to put it out, maybe I'll post on Instagram or something, and then I'm not going to plug it or talk about it or do anything with it. And then when we finished, it was like, I don't know, I'd pulled people in to play drums and, you know, snaps and things, and had other people like mixing and producing. So it was like, and all of them were really, really into it, and were like, wow, I think this is good music. Like you did a good thing here. So it was like,
feedback. I should keep doing this. This actually is other people have a positive experience from this thing that I made.
Well, because you said the word art is made to help people feel things. Versus art is there to help me feel something. Which is true, but there's something I think some part of this is meant to be shared.
Obviously, neither of you do this work completely alone. You're part of a band, otherwise just a community, and just like a larger audience of work, of like people putting music into the world right now. Can you speak to kind of your experience as a part of all or any of those things?
Or like the music community as a whole.
Or your band, or anyone you collaborate
with. Working with people is just so much. I think I couldn't do it without other people, obviously, the right people. Like my studio, obviously I talked about him, but going into the studio, he was also written. He's obsessed with like Phoebe Bridgers and that type. So I chose someone that would understand what I'm going for. But, you know, he really helped get it out and got so much positive feedback and from that so quickly. And So you just want to find the people to work with, and then obviously Jacob came out with his solo record at the same time.
Yeah,
and then
we had songs come out the same day.
Was it the same day?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then a friend plugged both of them on his Instagram, and so I heard their project, your stuff, and I was like, this is really cool. And then I kind of forgot about it, and then like a while later I saw a post that she was looking for a guitar player, and I was like, oh, I play guitar. I like this. I like this music.
Amazing. And prior to ever knowing each other.
Yeah. So it worked because like we have similar styles. Like you get the music I want to make, and it just flows so well.
Yeah.
And then everyone else that joined is just like such a fun experience to like bring that to life together. And
it's there's a really cool thing that happens when you make music by yourself. Or at least when I make music by myself.
Yeah.
Where, I don't know. I can do things like not to a click, and I can like have all the big hits together and stuff sounds cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when you pull other people in, there's a chemistry that can't be there when I'm doing stuff on my own.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like when I'm listening to it, there's always this vibe that's there between the singing and the guitar playing, and that's been my number one thing jumping in. This has been like, don't mess with that at all.
This is the vibe, the Strange Lily vibe.
I feel like when you see a live show and you can tell, I feel like I can tell if a band is like...
Yeah, there's an unspoken energy between...
Yeah, or just like the slight tilts toward each other where... it's like watching a really... I watch so few team sports, but like a really epic game.
Yeah.
Communicating
like,
without talking.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a it's like a Star Wars moment almost, you know, where it's like fly past each other in the cockpit, just like
just like
wave at each other.
Well said. That's kind of the end of this. We would, if you're open to it, we'd maybe love to share a clip or a song on the podcast.
Do you have a favorite that you'd like us to
if you'd like one that maybe more meaningfully represents kind of what we talked about here today, we'd love to share it.
Anyone that you'd want to share. I'd say because we are performing.
Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess because we are performing Godspeed, maybe that one. We've changed it up a little bit vocally, but Leave the Door Open is the one that we aren't performing because that's more just an acoustic, like kind of in the moment song. So either of those, I think, would be
Godspeed
great.
or Leave the Door Open.
Yeah. Okay. So any of those are kind of but yeah. Talking to you guys.
Yeah,
thanks so much for coming out. It was so nice to meet you guys.
And you're performing Sunday, 2 o'clock.
Sunday, 2 p.m.
Okay.
Yep.
We have a baby with us now who has woken up from her nap, but that was such a great interview to listen back to. Thank you to Chloe and Jacob for sharing their experiences creating music with Strange Lily. And yeah, we didn't really need to cut in to that one too much. The sound was a little bit better. We were free to do all our therapeutic musings during the interview. Yeah, stay tuned for the next episode where we interview Joe Hertler and the Rainbow Seekers and Small Million. Please enjoy Leave the Door Open by Strange Lily. Indeed. And stay close. She said stay close. Stay close.
I know you more than you
Thanks for listening to That's My Therapy. If you are seeking resources to care for your mental health, a good place to start is Psychology Today's list of qualified practitioners in your area, or by contacting your insurance provider to get a list of in-network clinicians.
If you are feeling suicidal or needing immediate help, you can reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing or texting 988.